This is Carl with Future Achievers. In 2012, three individuals came together to address a need that affected teenagers in their community. Learn more about these individuals in this interview and how they turned an idea into a reality. Join us. Hello, Erica and Rachel. So good to see both of you today. And really excited to have this conversation. Definitely a good day to have the team back together to talk about Future Achievers. Got the founders here, the ones that created the organization and the program, here to talk about, how we did it, why we did it, and share just a little bit more about ourselves. So I appreciate you both being here. So first thing, let's just introduce ourselves to the people and let them know who we are. Erica, would you like to go first?
Sure. My name is Erica Butler. I'm originally from Indianapolis, Indiana. I currently work for IU School of Social Work, and I'm married with two kids, um, fourth grade and kindergarten. So this year has been interesting to work from home, teach from home, and start school off from home.
I'm Rachel Ulrich, and I grew up here in Richmond, Indiana, and graduated from Richmond High School in 2011. And then I went off to college, did some different things, and moved back a couple years ago. And I've been a student at Bethany Seminary in town. I'm going to graduate with my master's this spring. Yay! Yeah, and I've just really loved being back in Richmond. It's been great. So.
Yeah. Congratulations on that master's. That's huge.
Thanks. It feels a little surreal. So.
Yeah. Well, and I am Carl Reinhardt, 2003 graduate of Earlham College, originally from Muncie, Indiana. I am married as well with two kids, my beautiful wife, Jennifer, my children, Gianna and Julian. Um, let's see. Yeah, I think that's good on me too. All right. So let's talk a little bit about the history of Future Achievers. Where did it start? How did we get this going?
So it originally started with the Institute for Creative Leadership.
Yeah.
So I had a few people tell me about the program. And so since so many people told me about it, I just went ahead and signed up for it. But it's something that I wanted to do, but it was something I also kind of backed away from because I'm not a very social person, and just knowing that I would have to come out of my comfort zone and actually talk and network with other people outside of, my small core group of people was something totally different. But that's how it started, is the three of us ending up in the same group within the program.
Yeah, and I don't remember how I got involved with the Institute. I know I was working, I believe, at Chase at the time in banking. And yeah, and Erica, that's interesting because I mean, I know you. We're friends. We're friends before. Me and your husband went to college together, played football together, and so I didn't know you to be, shy and yeah. So that's interesting. Rachel, now you were a high school student at the time. So how did you get involved in what was some of your experience?
Yeah, so it was my senior year of high school, and it turns out that Mary Jo Clark and Pat Heine, who like facilitate that, really like to get like a high school student or two in the workshop, even though it's like primarily like adults in the workshop. But So she asked me, I think it was Mary Jo who reached out to me and asked if I'd be interested in participating in the workshop series. And I thought it was a really cool opportunity. I've been kind of like more and more involved in the Richmond community by that point in time. And so it just seemed really interesting and like really oriented around kind of projects that would benefit the community. And so, yeah, it was kind of a new thing for me since I was like the one high school student in the group, but it was also this like amazing opportunity to like learn new things and kind of learn from people who are older than me. So that was really cool.
And I don't remember how like our group came together, like what the process was at the end. You know, I don't know if we just picked groups, and Erica, if me and you, because we knew each other, we said, hey, we're gonna be in the same group, or
we had to pick like whatever like the project was. We had like everybody had to go to the group that interests them. So it like ours ended up being like education. Was like our core group, and then we split off into different like smaller groups after that. And I don't remember how we ended up with like the three of us, but I do remember that we split into smaller groups. I mean that we were split into bigger groups. So some people had like community service, or you know, there were just different subgroups, I guess.
I keep thinking for some reason I thought like the Cardinal Greenway or some like the Greenway Project or something about that came from that as well.
It might have just
too. I don't know.
Yeah, it could have. I could totally see that happening because of how many groups there were. Or they might have given us topics or something like that. I can't remember. It seems like it was so long ago.
Yeah, I do remember like there being like the different like kinds of causes that you could be interested in, and then you like picked which one and met up, and we were in the education group, and I think we were a big group. I think there was like a good 6 or 7 of us, and we kind of realized in discussing that there were some different interests and kind of, I think the scale of the project people wanted to do was a little different. And I think the three of us realized we were interested in something kind of like financial literacy related. And so we kind of, I think the group kind of broke off into 2 smaller groups so that we could each do like what we were interested in.
So we formed our group. We had this idea about financial literacy, wanting to educate youth, work with teenagers, and make sure that they had financial skills as they continued on in life. And I think from there, like it was really cool about how we got it implemented, you know, who we partnered with, and then how things evolved, you know, over time. If I remember correctly, we linked up with Townsend Community Center. I think I was maybe on the board or had a relationship with Townsend at the time. Townsend had a captive audience down there. And so we kind of pitched the program to them and said, hey, can we, you know, partner up and house this program in your building, you know, this for the pilot session. And I think it went really well. I mean, we had some success. We're in the paper, got it covered, and that was kind of cool too, to see us in the program in the newspaper. And at the time we were using the name Money Matters. And so because it was all about, you know, the financial literacy at the time. So
the thing you missed was the thought process behind the fact that when you and I were in school, we had home ec, and that was something like, yeah, you learned how to like take care of your household, but you also learned how to balance a checkbook and things like that. Go grocery shopping and balance, you know, your grocery list. Like, is this a need or a want? Is this within our budget and things like that? Whereas today, or even, you know, when we started the program, Rachel's like, yeah, that's not something that we have in school right now. And it's like, that's a key component of life. You know, after you leave your parents' house, you have to learn how to, you know, budget your household. And we were kind of baffled at the fact that, you know, nobody knew how to, you know, there was nothing in place to prepare kids for that. But then also some of the things that we lacked was like learning about credit and things like that weren't things that you would learn, or bank accounts. We didn't learn about that in home ec. Like we learned how to, well, for me, I remember learning how to write a check, but I don't remember like learning how to open a bank account or balance anything with my bank account. All I knew was that I would write a check and I needed to go to my ledger and balance that with with whatever I had in the account, but not necessarily, you know, checking in, making sure there's, you know, nothing funny going on in it. So it was just a lot of things that was like, here are things from the two of us that we can bring from what we learned in high school, but then also the things we didn't, and incorporating what Rachel could bring from being a current student that we wouldn't know of. And I think then that brought us to, hey, let's take this to the Townsend Center, because that would be an audience that, you know, we knew that we could get.
Absolutely. And I think for me, at least, that was always, I mean, that continued to be the thought process. And definitely was like a big part of it is like, what did I not know?
Right.
Here I am an adult now, at the time in my 20s. And it's like, what mistakes have I made financially? What were the things that if I, you know, had have gotten, you know, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever the case may be, like, how would I have done things differently? I mean,
Right.
you talking about balancing your checkbook, that was, shoot, that's advanced for me. I wasn't doing that. I fell in love with credit cards at an early age, and forgot that you had to pay for them things like after you swiped it. Uh,
Yeah.
and so like for me, it was like, yeah, so what were the mistakes that I made that, you know, I want to make sure I pass on this information, you know, to youth. And then to find out, yeah, the school curriculums were changing and they were taking out a lot of the programs, you know, that we had and that others, you know, before us had. So it's like, well, if they keep doing that, you know, how are these kids, young people gonna learn
Right.
and know how to?
The responsibility fall on?
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah. Um, Man, the experience, I think, you know, too, the grant writing experience. You know, we sat down together, worked with some other individuals, wrote our first grant. STAM Coachline Foundation blessed us with the money to be able to get our program started off the ground and going. And then I think for me, for sure, like the light bulb just went off for me, and I was like, wow, like, you know, this is something that we can really do. And I think the success from the pilot program, the feedback from the students that participated, I'm like, you know, we got to keep this thing going, right? Like we got to keep doing this. And then it was, you know, how can we also evolve ourselves? Um, and then I think out of that then came the idea of, well, let's create our own organization. I mean, let's do our own nonprofit and continue to run this thing,
Right.
uh, you know, well into the future. Yeah.
And about the, what was it, 501c3 and
Mhm.
everything.
Yeah.
And we just kind of like dove in it. Like we had no idea, like, well, guess we're just gonna have to Google this and figure it out.
Well, that for me, like that's honestly how I learn and how I operate. I think I don't know if that's the most efficient, but definitely I just dive in. I learn by doing. I just start, and I remember, yeah, reaching out to everybody we could. If somebody crossed my path and we just started talking and they said, oh yeah, well, I know this and this and this, I'm like, light bulb, yep, I need to ask you about this because, you know, we need help. Yeah, 501c3, talking to accountants and different people on how do you do this, sitting down with all these books and figuring it out. But yeah, we got it.
I think that was such a cool thing for me to experience as like a high school senior slash recent graduate. It's like you can just do something. Like you can kind of just do the thing of, you know, if you have like a big dream, you know, I think it was really cool to just observe like kind of the optimism and the hopefulness that I think you both had of, yeah, like why not make this into a nonprofit? Like why not give this a try? Why not apply to the grant? And I was like, oh, like you can, like we're just normal people and you can just do this. So I think that was kind of cool. Yeah. I think if there's like a takeaway for people listening to this video, that might be like one of them. It's like, yeah, if you have something you want to do, like.
And we literally had no idea. And I give credit to Carl to like going out and like reaching out to all those people because like I said, it was it was hard enough for me to sit at tables during, the whole process and just shooting out ideas and thoughts to complete strangers because I'm not from Richmond. So the handful of people I knew were from church and Earlham because at that time I was working at Earlham. So if you weren't there, I had no idea who you were, and it was just like, yeah, I don't want to talk to you about about like just random ideas that I have, and like, well, it was so beyond me, but like forcing myself to do it was really great, and I formed a lot of relationships from that, or just figuring out that we had certain people in common, and I know this person and that person. But I mean, that would have never happened if I would have shied away from being there. But yeah, like I knew for sure if somebody would have said, oh, I know this accountant, I wouldn't have just went to that person and asked a ton of questions or things like that. So yeah, without you doing all of that, the program would not be where it is today.
Well, nah, I mean, and don't get it twisted. It was not easy for me either. Yeah, it was just, but I think networking and having opportunities to network. I mean, I think there were a lot of opportunities that were created at that time, and I think it was really, it might have been some additional people that were in the institute with us as well that helped along the way. I remember when we formed the organization, then we took the program and we ran it out of the Innovation Center
Yeah.
downtown. We did a workshop, a 5-week workshop there, and then we rolled that into a summer workshop that was focused directly in one or two areas. I know we did a job readiness workshop in the summer that was at the Innovation Center as well too. And so, I mean, along the way, I mean, we were just blessed to have people, who were willing to provide us space at no cost to run our programs. People were willing to speak to the youth that we brought in and take their time in the evening to work with them and share their knowledge with them. And so, definitely, I mean, just we were just blessed to have people just showing up and saying, yep, I can help. Erin Ferguson, I'll definitely mention her name. She's not in our community any longer. I think she, can't remember where she moved to, but she was with Youth as Resources at the time, and she was a huge help to me. I've got some photos that she was in some of our workshops as well too, and she was just, I mean, just a wealth of knowledge and willing to give all she knew to be able to help us as well too. And so I definitely want to shout out everybody who supported us and came to meetings and shared ideas and made connections, wrote checks. I definitely will mention too, Mr. Robert Alexander was a big influence for me. He helped us tremendously. Probably not everybody knows that, but he definitely believed in the program and what we were doing. He believed in helping youth, and he showed that in a number of ways. Yeah, and then unfortunate thing, I mean, so after I think we experienced that success and got things off the ground, we transition came. And so, Erica, you moved away. Rachel, you moved away, started college. I had some job changes, which affected my availability and ability to continue, offering programming like we were. And so there was this period of no face-to-face programming, no workshops going on. But the organization was, the great thing was the nuts and bolts were there. I mean, in the infrastructure, website, social media presence, all of that had been created. Brick Road Media was amazing and continues to be an amazing organization that helps us with our website. And then it was like, what, like I think 2018, 19, then, coming back together, I'm like, okay, we got to do something with this. And we worked too hard, put too much energy into it, got some great feedback. And I think we believed in it as well too. And we knew it was definitely needed. And so it's like, we got to bring this thing back. We got to get it back going. And we got to set it up so that it is in our community and serving youth for many, many years to come. And so I'm happy to be sitting here now with the two of you as active board members to be able to make sure that that dream is realized. And so with that, let me ask, you know, from your perspectives, like where do you want this to go? Where do you see this going, you know, in the future?
I guess I see it, and I'm just for right now. I would want this to go everywhere, but just to start, just being in Richmond and starting this there, and being involved with the youth at church, and just getting the knowledge from Rachel and from those kids or students there, and seeing the lack of service and knowledge for financial literacy. um, it's like I would want this to be the one-stop shop for them. Like at any given moment, that yeah, you can Google whatever you want, but sometimes you don't even know what it is that like you don't know the questions that you need to ask. So to have this platform for them to come to and say, hey, I don't even know what I need to be looking for. I just know that I want to go to school. I don't know how to fill out a FAFSA. I don't know what a FAFSA is. I don't know anything about credit. I don't know anything about debt. Just to come and just, lay everything down and say, look, I just don't know. And sometimes it's uncomfortable saying, I don't know. But here's a no judgment zone. Hey, let's get it in. Let's show you how to do it, and you will continually have this knowledge forever. I mean, I guess my end goal is to, forever educate the youth on, how to live, because you only learn, from your mistakes. And sometimes those mistakes are really hard to come back from. So if, like you said, if I can prevent you from making those same mistakes, I'm not going to say you won't bump your head, but at least that fall won't be so hard. I'm here for it. So I just would hope that we could continue this journey for not only in Richmond, but of course, that's where it started. I would want to capture that audience first at the, highest capacity and branch that out from there.
Rachel, what do you think? Where do you want to see this go?
Yeah, well, it's been really cool to like reconnect and to see even how much like the program's expanded since I left Richmond and went off to college. I think like something that stands out to me is it just feels like a time where this is needed more than ever. Like I think about just the financial pressures related to COVID, and so much of that is like systemic problems. Excuse me. But like the more tools and empowerment that people can receive, the better. And I think the more awareness and education that people can receive, the better. And then like the other components of the program, like there's kind of now, like I know there's kind of like a mental health component built into it. I think like I'm hoping we can keep sort of responding to the current needs of sort of an ever-changing situation, and like really thinking about what people need here and now, and how to adapt to that. And I think lots of nonprofits are thinking this way, and so to be able to like collaborate and be creative about how to meet like so many needs during this time. And one of the things I was kind of reflecting about is, it may be that in the last 10 years, like maybe the high schools developed more kinds of programs, or maybe they had things that I wasn't aware of at the time that I was in high school. But I think it never hurts to have like multiple opportunities to learn different kinds of information. If you couldn't fit into your schedule a particular class that taught something, you might need, another option. And so to be able to kind of be this kind of flexible option for learning some really, really important stuff in case you have a gap in your education elsewhere. I think to keep being that, and to do so in a way that's adaptable to kind of the changing needs of the community. That's what I'm hoping to see.
Yeah, and for me, I think, well, one, I'll say, I think think it's great that we are all on the same page. I think, hearing from the two of you, I feel like things that I've said over the years, things that I have thought about, embodies everything that you both just said. And I'm in the position of, you know, creating programming, implementing programming. And so, I've been working to really capture, everybody's ideas and sentiment as far as how we should move forward. And I think we've done that. I think we've done that nicely. And so for me, I just want to see us continue to build and to grow. I think one of the things I would really love to do is see us form partnerships with other organizations. Um, like we had partnered with Townsend those years ago. Because I don't think that any one organization can really meet the needs of an entire community. And so we have to work together. The other thing is we're in such a small community. There's only so many dollars, there's only so many resources that can go around. And instead of us, positioning ourselves to where we're competing with another organization for kids or for dollars or things like that, how about we come together, bring our programs together to best serve our youth? I'm writing down notes as you guys are talking. And so, I can tell you some things that we're doing now that are just right in line with things that you said. And so, having multiple options, I believe that, too, Rich, you said that, one of the reasons why I feel like this organization and this program is so important is because every child in our community does not have the same access to information. And Erica, you mentioned that, as far as us providing that information, and that's what we are. We're an information source, a one-stop shop. If you got questions, reach out to us, ask us, we will find answers. We have connections to people. And so we've got that networking component built into what we do, that if we can't do it for you, we will definitely link you up with the person that can either, take care of that need or then connect you with the next person to be able to help you. But again, Rachel, like you said, hey, if you didn't have the opportunity to sign up for that class, you might not have gotten that information. And so I think that's very true. And so we have some kids out here that are lacking, knowledge, and that's where we really step in. Um, one thing I didn't mention is going back. Once we crossed over and we said, okay, we're gonna make this organization. We also expanded what we did. We expanded our offering, and so financial literacy was definitely one thing that we felt teens should know about as they move into adulthood. But there were four other, well, I think three at the time, and now we've expanded even more to include health and wellness, and now we have five. And so those five, what we call key areas, are personal finance, college preparation, job readiness, giving back to the community and civic engagement, and health and wellness. And so the idea was, I remember us talking about this. What are some other things that youth need to know about to prepare them for life as an adult? And I think that five list that we came up with is a really good foundation, is a really solid, well-rounded foundation for youth to have as they move forward into adulthood. So I'm excited to share, this information with youth. And because of COVID, and right now, and some other things, that we've moved to a virtual platform, which for some, sometimes it's definitely got its downside, but it's got a lot of positives, for it too. So we don't have to necessarily wait for all the kids to come together and then everything to come together correctly. So the kids, our guest speakers, our schedules to be able to facilitate, find a location that would allow us to use their space, and all these different things. I mean, there were some great things about the workshops too, because we gave kids free food, and who doesn't like that? I enjoyed it myself. So so we don't have, but those were headaches, and tough things to be able to schedule too. And so now, with having everything online, young people, as they come in and hear about the program, they're able to pick the videos that they want to watch, can engage with us via email, and reach out to us. And then now we've also crossed over into offering some inspirational interviews as well too. So these are conversations with people just to, again, just to put positivity out there in the air, just to inspire our youth to be their best selves. Is the goal with these conversations, and those are on our YouTube channel, and so we've expanded onto YouTube as well too. And so we're already growing and moving forward with things, and I'm just excited to see where we will go. But definitely we can get there faster, and have a bigger impact collectively
Hmm.
if we as organizations, youth serving organizations, and other stakeholders come together, and support and collaborate in what we do.
Yeah, one group that we did not recognize that I often think about, because without them, we wouldn't be here, are the parents. Because so many parents trusted us to kind of, just threw their kids in, like, yeah, they need to know this, but allowed us to, give them all the information that we knew and that we didn't know. And I'm really grateful, because a lot of those students I see on my Facebook page now, and they're doing some amazing things. And I'm like, oh, I'm so glad they got that information. I really hope that it's helped and that they're using it, and heck, that they've taken it and passed it on to, other kids. So yeah, without those parents, we wouldn't have had those kids in this program. And transportation, that was like one big issue. Like, how are we
Yeah.
gonna get these kids from here to there? And so, yeah, it was amazing for them to have let us, have their babies, and teach them what we, knew and didn't know.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think too, one of the things that I've learned in my time in working in mental health and in social work is that the seeds you plant today, you
Hmm.
don't necessarily see the fruit of that in the time that you're working with a young person. And so the limited amount of time that we had them, you know, I'm not going to say because we did a job readiness workshop and they came and learned how to write a resume, that right from that conversation or that workshop, they went out the next week and found a job. But what I am saying is that seed that we planted, when they were ready and it came time for them to step out there, that seed quite possibly may have sprouted and said, oh, you know what? I need to write a resume
Hmm.
and take
Hmm.
that in with me. Oh, I can't go in there in jeans and a cut up t-shirt. I need to put on, business attire or some professional attire.
Right.
And it's like, especially when you're dealing with teens, because, and I remember, I know what the heck I was like when I was, that age too. I didn't think about, I couldn't see past the end of my arm. I mean, I just was not thinking about it. And the people talking to me, I'm like, you're old. It was different, back when you were young. You don't know how we do it nowadays, type of thing. But I remember for me, the seeds that were planted in me, when the time was right, those things sprouted. And I said, oh, yeah, dang it. Now I remember what, so and so said back then. And this is why, they said it. And it was, it was just able to help, help me,
Hmm.
do the things that I needed to do. So, and that's, again, definitely something I hope, for the youth that we work with, is that, we're able to plant some seeds, into them, give them with some knowledge, some understanding, that when the time is right, it sprouts and supports them
For sure.
uh, the way that they need it to. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. All right. Well, anything else from either one of you?
I really am grateful that I got to experience the Institute and network. And even like you saying, like, with the kids, maybe us not seeing how we would have benefit them at that point, but we do now. It's the same thing for me. Like, there are things that happened then that didn't necessarily, I didn't think that I needed it. But,
Right.
here, 10, 12 years later, and it's like, oh, you know, I learned that in the Institute, or I need to connect with this person that I met in the Institute. because of X, Y, and Z. It's amazing how things just come back around. So I'm excited to see, adding the additional like mental health and community engagement, all those other things like that to this group is really gonna, I think, change and make us, set us apart, because we're willing to engage with other organizations and communities and share funds and things like that, that it'll set us apart. And I think it'll just make us bigger and greater and more beneficial to the community.
It's just a follow-up thought that came to my mind. I would also wholeheartedly recommend the Institute of Creative Leadership. They're awesome. Also, like, a thought that comes to my mind, if you are like a high school student listening to this, I would just wholeheartedly recommend like getting involved in the Richmond community if you have the time and the opportunity. I know like high school is a super busy time. A lot of people have jobs or like sports and things like that, but I just benefited so much from like connecting with things in the community, nonprofits in the community, meeting people in the community. And Richmond's this really awesome place where people can like network in this amazing way. It's like just large enough and just small enough for that to happen. And I feel like I'm still benefiting from like the experiences and skills I had for that. So just a little like thing to throw out there. If you're interested in getting involved in like Future Achievers, like I bet, we could totally get, the support of someone who's currently in high school. So the opportunities are endless, and that's just something I would toss out there.
Absolutely. And I would say that's definitely a key partnership, is the partnership with youth. And so we definitely have space available for youth to come on and get involved in what goes on behind the scenes. I mean, if you want to learn how to run a nonprofit organization, if you want to know how to work with others, if you want to, affect change, in your community, this is definitely a place that you can do that and have some free reign. You had mentioned too, Rachel, being as far as adapting, and that's something we want to do too, is be flexible enough to adapt to the changes, because every year, something new comes out, and now technology is changing so rapidly. Needs of youth might be changing, as time goes on, and so we want to change, our programming to fit the current needs, and in order to do that, we need young people working with us and letting us know what's going on out there. I mean, I know it from my perspective, but I'm getting older and it's not quite the same. My responsibilities and my, vantage point in life is different than a 14, 15, 16, year old. So, and I would say too, if anybody, young people out there, 18 as well, 18, 19, 20, probably to about 21, maybe 23. That kind of transitional age. Now you're out in the real world and you're like, what the heck is going on? Like, I got to figure out how to pay bills and keep a roof over my head and get to work and so on and so forth. There might be a need there that we can help, to fill. I know recently this week I made contact, with the local staffing company and was able to help a young person get connected there, as they start to look for employment and things like that. And so that's what we do. We bridge that gap and we provide that information and access to resources for those that might not otherwise have it. So yes, absolutely. I welcome all, jump on board and see where this thing will take you. Thank you both for your time. Always good to talk with you. Good to kind of reconnect and travel down memory lane a bit. Looking forward to where things go.
Yeah, thank you.